I was born with a rare medical anomaly. I have 2 beating hearts. Growing up, that was the only reason my parents ever cared about me, because my older sister Naomi Blake had a congenital heart disease. They only brought me into this world to serve as a spare parts catalog to keep her alive. Then I met Noah Sullivan, and we got married. He was the one who pulled me out of the dark abyss of desperately begging for my family's love. I thought he would be different from my parents. Yet when my sister suffered a relapse, he became consumed by a single, obsessive thought. He wanted me to donate one of my hearts to her. What he didn't know was that I only had one heart left. And my other heart was already inside him. It's just one of your hearts. Why do you have to be so selfish? Weren't you brought into this world just so your sister could live? Noah held my wrist in a vice grip. But I want to live, too. I'll die without a heart. Noah's face stiffened for a second, but he pressed on. You have 2 hearts. If you give one up, you'll still have one left. You'll survive. But your sister is different. Without this heart, she's going to die. Ignoring my frantic struggles, Noah dragged me toward the prep room. I tried to explain, completely helpless. I only have one heart right now. You saw the report yourself, didn't you? Noah refused to listen. Who knows what you did behind my back just to avoid donating? You even had the nerve to bribe the staff in the imaging department. He genuinely believed I had bribed the technician to falsify my scan results. That's not true, Noah. I had a surgery when I was a child. I already donated one of my hearts. Enough, Sophia. All we're asking is for you to save your sister. Why are you being so stubborn? Noah cut me off brutally. I'm not lying to you. My other heart is inside you. Noah didn't hear a word I said. He turned and walked straight into my sister's prep room. The other medical staff in the room stood frozen in shock. Then someone scoffed. Whispering love professions at a time like this? How disgusting. Your sister is fighting for her life, and here you are, dropping vile flirtations on your own brother-in-law. Only our families knew that Noah and I were married. None of Noah's colleagues knew who I was. Since Noah had personally handled all of Naomi's hospital arrangements, everyone in the department assumed Naomi was his wife. And Noah had never once bothered to correct them. Exactly. Instead of trying to save her own sister, she's trying to seduce her brother-in-law. Having a heart inside someone like you is a complete waste. Hearing the doctor's harsh remarks, I couldn't stop myself from blurting out the truth. Actually, I'm the real. Noah stepped back out of the prep room and grabbed my hand tight. You are donating your heart today. No exceptions. Your sister is already in the operating room. You're up next. Saying that, Noah pulled out a stack of documents. I've already signed the consent forms. Go straight onto the operating table. Inside the operating room, I saw Naomi. Her frail, sickly appearance immediately earned her everyone's sympathy. Don't worry, Mrs. Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan will make sure you live a long life. Naomi didn't refute the title when the nurse called her Mrs. Sullivan. Instead, she offered a weak, delicate smile. It's all my fault, making Sophia sacrifice so much for me. Her voice was filled with self-reproach, but the look she gave me was pure provocation. Hearing those words, the other doctors saw Naomi as a saint, and me as a cold-blooded monster. After comforting Naomi, Noah ignored my desperate thrashing and forcefully shoved me onto the operating table. He ordered the anesthesiologist to step forward and administer the sedative immediately. A few moments later, my violent struggles slowly faded away. Noah gently brushed a strand of hair from my forehead. Don't worry, I will make sure you survive. Noah's mentor had once performed a successful heart transplant, giving him the supreme confidence that he could keep me alive. Once your sister recovers, my family will accept you, and I will stay by your side. Noah and his colleagues began the operation with tense, orderly precision. After a long while, Noah extracted a heart from my body. Before he even had a chance to inspect it, he grabbed my heart and rushed into Naomi's operating room. My chest lay wide open, my body abandoned and alone on the operating table. The piercing, shrill shriek of the monitor jolted the remaining doctor guarding the room back to reality. How did she die? Didn't they say she has 2 hearts? One of Noah's colleagues asked, completely baffled. You actually believed Dr. Sullivan when he said that as a joke? Good riddance. Serves her right for doing so many evil things, not only refusing to save Dr. Sullivan's wife, but even trying to seduce him, another colleague replied. What do we do now? She's dead. Just wait for someone to claim the body. If nobody wants it, let the morgue handle it. With that, every doctor in the operating room left. Noah focused entirely on operating on Naomi. Although he was confident, this was his first time performing a heart transplant on a patient. Fortunately, after several hours, the surgery was successfully completed. Once it was over, Noah accompanied Naomi back to her private ward. Only after Naomi was settled did he finally remember me. Just as Noah was about to head back to the operating room to check on me, he ran into one of the colleagues who had assisted in the surgery out in the hallway. "Where is my wife?" The colleague paused, thinking for a moment before answering. "Didn't she already come back?" "Don't worry, someone's keeping an eye on her post-op. The nurses in the department will look after your wife." Noah didn't catch the strange phrasing. Instead, he figured his colleague was right. With him around, the ward nurses would naturally keep a close eye on things. Satisfied, Noah returned to his office to resume work. A day later, Naomi woke up. Noah stayed right by her bedside. "Naomi, you're finally awake." Seeing Noah when she opened her eyes, Naomi burst into tears of overwhelming emotion. Noah stepped forward and pulled her into an embrace. "Don't worry, the surgery went smoothly. Your heart won't give you any more trouble from now on." Naomi touched her chest, weeping continuously as the realization hit her that the illness which had plagued her for years was finally gone. Noah gently stroked her back to soothe her, reminding her not to experience such violent emotional swings. Seeing this, one of the department nurses teased, "Dr. Sullivan is certainly good to his wife." Noah froze upon hearing that. Remembering that I was still in another room down the hall, he opened his mouth to clarify, "You've got it wrong, she isn't." Right on cue, Naomi clutched her chest, cutting Noah off. Left with no choice, Noah could only pat her back. "I told you not to cry. All you need to do right now is rest so you can recover." Perhaps seeing Naomi like this suddenly jogged his memory. It struck him that he hadn't checked on me even once since the operation. "Naomi, get some rest. I'm going to go check on Sophia." With that, Noah started to stand up. However, Naomi suddenly grabbed his hand. "I went behind my parents' backs to have this surgery, and I'm in the most critical stage of recovery. Without anyone here with me, I'm scared I won't heal properly." Seeing Naomi's pitiful, vulnerable expression, Noah's heart softened. He figured the doctors and nurses would surely look after me out of respect for him anyway, so his worries melted away. "All right. I'll stay and keep you company for a few more days." Naomi watched Noah sit back down before slowly closing her eyes, a faint, contented smile gracing her lips. Meanwhile, inside the hospital morgue, an attendant stared down at my body with a troubled frown. "It's been 2 days and no one's come to claim her. What are we supposed to do?" Another attendant was busy packing up his gear. "What are you staring at? Finish up quickly so we can get off work." Together, the two men heaved my body into a body bag. Looking at the state she's in, dying such a gruesome death, she probably wasn't a good person anyway. Good person, bad person, once they turn to ash, it's all the same. True. Still a shame, though. She was so young. Another 2 days passed. Only when Noah saw that Naomi had mostly recovered did he finally remember to come looking for me. He walked over to my recovery room, only to find it completely empty. A nurse was in the middle of changing the bedding. "Where is the patient in this bed?" The nurse looked up, recognizing him. "She checked out." Noah's brow furrowed in immediate irritation. "She just had major surgery. Instead of resting in the hospital, where on earth did she run off to?" He pulled out his phone and dialed my number, but the call refused to connect. "Fine. Have it your way," Noah muttered, his anger flaring. "Feel free to die out there for all I care, just don't come begging to me." He stormed back into Naomi's room. Noticing his foul mood, Naomi spoke up gently. "Is Sophia really angry? Is she refusing to forgive you?" "It's all my fault. Let me go talk to her and explain everything right away. I don't want the two of you having a misunderstanding because of me." As Naomi made a move to get out of bed, Noah immediately held her back. "Why are you bothering with her? Your only priority right now is to recover properly. That way, Mom and Dad will be overjoyed when they hear the good news on the day you're discharged." He scoffed. "As for Sophia, she's not going to die. She's already been discharged." Recalling how I had frantically begged him right before the surgery, a lingering bitterness gnawed at Noah's chest. He simply couldn't comprehend it. We were sisters, so why had I been so willing to watch Naomi die without lifting a finger? Comparing that to how Naomi was constantly thinking of my well-being, he found me utterly lacking in comparison. Since I wanted to play tough and insisted on leaving the hospital, he decided to let me stew in my own anger for a while. It wouldn't be too late to fetch me when Naomi was officially discharged. Inside the doctor's office, his colleagues were chatting and laughing among themselves. But the moment Noah stepped through the door, everyone instantly fell silent. Noah sensed the weird shift in energy. "What were you all talking about just now?" No one answered. After a long pause, One colleague stepped forward and put a friendly hand on Noah's shoulder. What else could we be talking about? Your deep, devoted love for your wife, of course. Noah's mind flashed to how I had been forced to surrender one of my hearts. In a twisted way, he took that as proof that I truly loved him deeply. Though forced into it, I had ultimately helped him and saved a human life. At that thought, he found it in his heart to forgive my sudden disappearance, though he was still furious that I was ignoring his calls. Noticing the dark cloud on his face, his colleague added, "Is your wife in a bad mood?" Noah stayed quiet. "It's completely normal for her to be upset right after a major operation," his colleague advised. "Be a little more understanding. Do something nice to cheer her up." Listening to his colleague's advice, the tension in Noah's brow gradually smoothed out. He remembered how much I loved the small pastries from the bakery near our complex, and he decided to head home right after his shift. Carrying a box of little pastries, Noah unlocked the door and stepped into our apartment. "Honey? I bought those pastries you like." Silence greeted him. Just as he set the pastry box down on the entryway table, his eyes landed on a document resting right on the center table, the divorce papers I had left behind a week ago. The moment I first learned he was going to force me to donate my heart, I had already made up my mind to divorce him. Noah stared at the document, his eyes widening in complete disbelief. Is this really necessary? He thought to himself. It was just one heart. She actually had the nerve to demand a divorce over this? Noah slammed the box of pastries into the trash can with a violent swing. If you don't want this home, then don't ever come back. Just then, his phone rang. Noah glanced at the screen and saw that my father, Vincent, was calling. "Noah? Where's Sophia been lately?" It was rare for my father to call and actually ask about me. After all, every other word out of his mouth was usually about Naomi. Noah thought about it for a moment, realizing that only my parents could goad me into showing my face. Besides, Naomi had already mostly recovered. So, he decided to tell my father about Naomi's surgery. My parents rushed over to the hospital that very night. The moment Naomi saw our parents, her tears fell like an open faucet. After the three of them wept in a tight embrace for a while, my parents finally asked about me. "Where is your sister? She's in the same department, yet she hasn't even come over to visit you?" Naomi hesitated slightly. "Sophia has already been discharged." My mother, Eleanor, held Naomi tight. "Discharged? Her health sure is robust, checking out just a few days after surgery. Isn't she afraid of dropping dead out there?" My father immediately cut in to stop her. "What are you saying? Even though Naomi had the surgery, there's no guarantee there won't be complications down the road. If Sophia dies, what happens to Naomi?" Hearing this, my mother tapped her own lips repeatedly. "Don't say that. Even if she's going to die, she better wait until after Naomi. Don't worry, Naomi, Mom and Dad will definitely look after you." Warmth flooded Naomi's heart as she listened to our parents' words. The next day, Noah walked into the ward and was greeted by the cozy, heartwarming scene of Vincent and Eleanor surrounding Naomi's bedside. For some reason, the sight felt strangely glaring to him, perhaps because he realized he had never seen my parents treat me that way. "Noah, you're here. We owe you so much for saving Naomi's heart." My parents focused entirely on thanking Noah, without mentioning a single word about me. Noah asked my parents if they had heard anything from me, but the mere mention of my name soured their mood instantly. "Why are you bothering with her? She's already been discharged, which means she's perfectly fine. You should focus on caring for Naomi instead. Naomi has been frail since she was a child, whereas Sophia has always been as healthy as an ox." My parents had always subtly tried to matchmake Naomi and Noah, though they had never said it out loud due to Naomi's illness. But now, everything was aligning. As long as Noah and I got divorced, he and Naomi could end up together. Before Noah could speak, a colleague walked into the room. "Dr. Sullivan is truly such a devoted husband, coming by every single day to stay by his wife's side." Hearing this, my parents assumed the matter was practically sealed, while Naomi couldn't hide her shy bashfulness. Noah's face, on the other hand, flushed with anger. "Who told you she's my wife?" The colleague didn't notice the sudden shift in Noah's expression and grinned in response. "Everyone in the department knows. No need to play modest with us." With that, he turned and hurried back to work. Vincent and Eleanor grabbed Noah's arm. "Noah, since Sophia isn't around anyway, letting your colleagues think Naomi is your wife means everyone will take extra good care of her." Noticing that Naomi's eyes were welling up with tears, Noah forced his anger down. Back in his office, before Noah could track down that colleague to set the record straight, someone informed him that his former mentor had arrived. Hearing this, Noah rushed straight to the department director's office. The moment he saw Dr. Richard Vaughn, Noah stepped forward and pulled him into a warm hug. "Dr. Vaughn. It's been so many years. How are you holding up? Dr. Vaughn nodded, sizing Noah up with a proud smile. I heard you just performed a heart transplant. The student truly surpasses the master. Dar. Vaughn went on to reminisce about how he had performed surgery on Noah when Noah was just a young boy, never imagining that Noah would grow up to follow in his footsteps. Noah froze dead in his tracks. Dr. Vaughn, what surgery are you talking about? Dr. Richard Vaughn looked at Noah with a gentle, nostalgic smile, completely unaware of the ice that had suddenly flooded Noah's veins. What do you mean, Dr. Vaughn? Noah's voice shook, barely louder than a whisper. What surgery? You performed a valve repair on me when I was 10. Right? My parents told me. Valve repair? Dr. Vaughn chuckled, shaking his head as he pulled a faded yellow folder from his leather briefcase. My dear boy, your parents lied to you. To spare you the psychological trauma of knowing you lived with another person's organ. You had terminal congenital cardiomyopathy. You were weeks away from death when you were 10 years old. Dr. Vaughn opened the folder and adjusted his reading glasses. It was a miracle, really. A absolute medical anomaly. A little 8-year-old girl was brought into our research hospital. She was born with 2 fully functional, separate hearts. Her parents, if you can even call them that, consented to an experimental procedure. They allowed us to resect one of her healthy hearts to transplant it into you. Noah felt the room spin. The air in his lungs turned to shattered glass. A little girl? Noah stammered, his knuckles turning stark white against the edge of the mahogany desk. Who was she? Let me see, Dr. Vaughn murmured, running a gnarled finger down the yellowed page. Ah, here it is. The donor's legal name was Sophia Blake. Sophia Blake. Noah's heart, the heart currently beating in his chest, grew so violent it felt as if it were trying to break through his ribs. I'm not lying to you. My other heart is inside you. You saw the report yourself, didn't you? I only have one heart left. Her desperate, terrified screams echoed inside his skull like a tolling death bell. She hadn't been flirting. She hadn't been dropping vile, manipulative lies. She had been stating a cold, terrifying, literal truth. Dr. Vaughn, Noah swallowed hard, his breath coming in ragged, shallow hitches. If a person born with 2 hearts donates one when she is 8, how many hearts does she have left? Dar. Vaughn looked up, frowning at the absurdity of the question. One, of course. Having 2 hearts is a microscopic anomaly, Noah. No human has 3. Once the first organ is removed, they are just like any normal human being. They have exactly 1 heart. Why do you ask? Noah didn't answer. He couldn't. His vision went completely black at the edges. His phone slipped from his hand, shattering against the hard tile floor. If she only had 1 heart left. What did I extract from her chest 2 days ago? Noah? Son, are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost. Dr. Vaughn stood up, reaching out to steady him. Noah stumbled backward, knocking over a chair. He turned and bolted out of the director's office like a madman, his lab coat flapping violently behind him. Noah ran through the sanitized hallways of the hospital, his mind a swirling tempest of denial and terror. She's lying. She bribed the imaging department. She's at home. She left divorce papers. She's just angry with me. He burst into the central surgical archive, shoving past astonished nurses and administrators. He threw open the digital logbooks for operating room 4, the room where he had left Sophia. His fingers trembled so severely he could barely type her name into the search bar. Patient name, Sophia Blake / Sophia Sullivan. Procedure, unspecified heart extraction / donor harvesting. Lead surgeon, Dr. Noah Sullivan. Postoperative status, deceased. Noah stared at the glowing red text. His eyes burned. No. No, 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 he roared, slamming his fist against the computer monitor. This is a mistake. Who entered this? Who put this in the system? The head administrative nurse rushed over, terrified. Dr. Sullivan. What's wrong? That record was logged 4 days ago. Where is she? Noah grabbed the nurse by her shoulders, his eyes wild and bloodshot. Where is the woman who was on the table in room 4? Where did they take her? Dar. Sullivan, please calm down. The patient in room 4 died on the table during the extraction. Because she was marked as an anonymous donor with no next of kin listed on her intake sheet, her body was transferred to the pathology morgue. Downstairs. Noah dropped his hands. His heart, Sophia's heart inside him, pained him so intensely that he fell to his knees, clutching his chest. He dragged himself back to his feet and sprinted toward the basement. The air in the basement morgue was suffocatingly cold. The smell of formaldehyde and steel hung heavy in the silence. Noah slammed open the heavy double doors. The morgue attendant dropped his mug of coffee in shock. Dr. Sullivan? What are you doing down here? Sophia Blake, Noah croaked, his voice raw, blood dripping from his lip where he had bitten it in panic. Where is Sophia Blake? Pull her drawer. Show me. The attendant blinked, utterly confused. Dar. Sullivan, that body was brought down 4 days ago. Her chest was completely cleared out, she had no heart left in her cavity. Pull her out. Noah screamed, tears finally spilling over his eyelids. Pull her drawer out right now. The attendant hastily ran to the computer terminals, searching the logbook. After a few seconds, he looked up with a solemn, pitying expression. I'm sorry, Dr. Sullivan. The body remained unclaimed for 72 hours. Per hospital protocol for unidentified or abandoned donor corpses, she was picked up by the municipal sanitation service yesterday morning. Noah felt the floor vanish beneath him. Picked up? What do you mean, picked up? Where did they take her? To the city crematorium, the attendant whispered softly. She was incinerated as an unclaimed corpse yesterday at 4 p.m. Noah's knees gave out completely. He hit the cold steel floor, clutching his head, letting out an animalistic, gut-wrenching wail that shattered the silence of the morgue. She was gone. He hadn't just ignored her. He hadn't just stolen from her. He had personally cut open the chest of the woman who had saved his life as a child, ripped out her last remaining heart, handed it to her manipulative sister, and left her corpse to rot on a cold steel table until it was turned to ash. In the VIP suite upstairs, Naomi was sitting comfortably on her bed, sipping lukewarm porridge fed to her by Eleanor. Vincent was reading a newspaper, a complacent, triumphant smile on his face. Mom, Naomi purred, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. When I get out of the hospital, do you think Noah will buy me that house near the lake? Since Sophia ran off, someone needs to take care of him. Eleanor snorted softly. Of course he will, darling. Sophia was always an ungrateful little brat. To throw a tantrum and leave divorce papers just because she had to help her sister? Disgusting. She was born to be your spare anyway. She should be honored. Her heart is keeping you alive. Bang. The wooden door of the ward was kicked open so hard it slammed into the concrete wall, cracking the frame. Vincent jumped up, dropping his newspaper. Noah. What is the meaning of this? You nearly frightened Naomi to death. Noah stood in the doorway. His lab coat was stained with dirt and sweat. His eyes were hollow, red, and utterly lifeless. He looked like a corpse that had clawed its way out of a mass grave. Noah. Naomi put a delicate hand over her chest, over Sophia's second heart. Noah, what's wrong? You look terrifying. Noah slowly walked into the room. Every step he took felt heavy, soaked in lead and blood. He walked over to Naomi's bedside. He didn't look at her face, his eyes were glued to her chest, listening to the muffled, steady pulse beneath her delicate hospital gown. Thump. 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 It was Sophia's life beating inside a parasite. Noah. Eleanor frowned, stepping forward. Did that brat Sophia call you to complain? Let me tell you, don't listen to her. Shut up, Noah whispered. What did you say? Vincent snapped, his authority challenged. How dare you speak to your mother-in-law like? I said shut up. Noah shrieked, slamming his hand onto the bedside table, shattering a glass vase. Flowers and water splashed everywhere. Naomi screamed, pulling the blankets to her chin. Noah glared at Vincent and Eleanor with a hatred so profound, so pure, that the two older adults unconsciously backed away. When Sophia was 8 years old, Noah's voice quivered, laced with dangerous Venom. What did you do to her? Vincent's face paled instantly. He swallowed hard, glancing nervously at Eleanor. I don't know what you're talking about. Dr. Richard Vaughn came to my office today. Noah stepped closer to Vincent, trembling violently. He performed my heart transplant 20 years ago. He showed me the donor records. Naomi's eyes widened in sudden, absolute terror. She clutched her gown tightly. Noah pointed a shaking finger at Vincent. You sold her first heart to save my life when I was 10. You treated her like a bloody butcher's shop. And you told me she had 2 hearts. She did have 2 hearts. Eleanor shrieked, defending herself frantically. She was born a freak. She had 2 beating hearts in her chest. Why shouldn't she share one with you, and one with her sister? She was our daughter, we had the right to decide. She only had 1 heart left. Noah roared, tears streaming down his face, dragging bloody streaks down his cheeks. She donated the first one to me 20 years ago. When I took this heart for Naomi, I took her last one. The room fell into an agonizing, suffocating silence. Vincent's jaw dropped. Eleanor froze, her hands hovering in the air. Naomi's eyes darted around frantically. No, that's impossible. She was fine. She was always healthy. Noah, she lied to you. She's just hiding to make us feel guilty. She is dead. Noah screamed at the top of his lungs, grabbing Naomi by the shoulders and shaking her. She died on my operating table. Her body was sent to the morgue as an unclaimed corpse and cremated yesterday. There is nothing left of her. Do you hear me? Nothing. Naomi gasped, her face draining of all color. She died? Naomi stammered. You killed her. Noah shook Naomi violently, blinded by utter madness. You made me kill my own wife. You made me rip out her only remaining heart. Noah. Stop it. You're hurting her. Vincent rushed forward, trying to pull Noah off Naomi. Noah turned and threw a brutal punch directly into Vincent's face. Vincent fell backward, crashing into the medical equipment, his nose bursting with blood. Eleanor began screaming hysterically for security. Noah stood over them, his breathing ragged, his hand clutching his own chest, where Sophia's first heart was thrashing inside him like a trapped bird. You monsters, Noah whispered, his eyes dark with a terrifying, unhinged promise. You brought her into this world just to carve her up. And I was the knife you used. He looked at Naomi, whose face was distorted in fear. Enjoy that heart, Naomi, Noah said, his voice dropping to a icy, dead whisper. Because as long as it beats inside you, I will make every single second of your life a living, waking hell. Noah dragged himself back to his empty apartment. The silence of the home hit him like a physical blow. The small box of pastries he had thrown into the trash can days ago was still sitting there, now covered in mold. On the living room table lay the divorce papers Sophia had left behind. Noah fell to his knees beside the table, carefully picking up the crisp white pages. His tears dripped onto her neat, elegant handwriting. At the very bottom of the last page, beneath her signature, she had written a single, faint note in small letters. Noah, when you look at your own chest in the mirror, remember that I loved you. Long before you ever knew my name. I gave you my first heart willingly because I wanted you to live. But you never gave me yours. A choked, agonizing sob torn from Noah's throat. He clutched the papers to his chest, curled up on the cold hardwood floor, and wept until his throat was raw and his eyes bled tears of pain. He remembered the day they first met in college. He had suffered an episode of acute angina on the running track. She had been the one to rush to his side, weeping hysterically, pressing her cheek against his chest, listening to his pulse with a terrifying intensity. Back then, he had thought she was just an overly emotional girl who had fallen in love with him at first sight. He hadn't realized, she was listening to her own heart. She was listening to the part of her that was keeping him alive. And how had he repaid her? He had ignored her. He had let his colleagues insult her. He had believed she was a selfish, envious monster who wanted her sister to die. He had bound her to an operating table, forced an anesthetic mask over her face, and ignored her. Desperate, terrified cries, "My other heart is inside you." He had thought it was a flirtatious joke. Noah dragged himself up and stumbled into Sophia's study, a room he had rarely bothered to enter. Her desk was neatly organized. In the top drawer, he found a thick, leather-bound notebook. He opened it. It was her diary. March 12. My parents called today. Naomi's heart is failing again. Dad told me to get ready. He said my life belongs to the Blake family, and it's time to fulfill my purpose. They don't know I already gave my first heart to Noah 20 years ago. If I tell them, they won't believe me. They'll just say I'm making excuses. Because I'm wicked. April 5. Noah brought Naomi to the hospital today. He looked at her with so much gentleness. I felt a sharp pain in my chest. He has never looked at me like that. He thinks I'm healthy and strong, so I don't need his care. He doesn't know that every step I take causes me exhaustion, because the single heart left in my chest has been carrying the burden of my entire body alone for 15 years. May 20th. Noah asked me for a divorce today. No, he didn't say the word, he just stared at me with so much disgust when I refused to sign the transplant consent form. He called me a cold-blooded monster. Noah, if I give her this heart, who will stay by your side? I only have one left. If I give it to her, I will die. June 1st, the day before the surgery, I've decided to go to the hospital tomorrow. Not because I want to save Naomi, but because I'm so tired. I'm so tired of begging for love from a family that views me as spare parts. I'm so tired of looking at my husband and knowing he loves my sister's delicate weakness more than my silent endurance. Noah, my first heart is inside you. If my second heart goes to Naomi, then in a strange, twisted way, I will live inside both of you forever. Goodbye, my love. Noah dropped the diary. He slammed his face into his hands, screaming into the empty room until his lungs bled. She had gone to that operating table knowing she was going to die. She had let him kill her because she was simply too exhausted to live in a world that treated her like an object to be harvested. 3 weeks passed. Naomi was officially discharged from the hospital. Thanks to Noah's superior surgical skills, the transplanted heart was functioning with extraordinary efficiency. Vincent and Eleanor threw a massive celebration party at the Blake family manor, inviting all of high society to celebrate Naomi's miraculous recovery. However, Noah Sullivan's name was on everyone's lips for a very different reason. During those 3 weeks, Noah had completely transformed. He no longer practiced medicine. He wore a crisp black suit every day, his eyes cold, sunken, and terrifyingly calm. He arrived at the Blake Manor unannounced. When Naomi saw Noah walk into the banquet hall, her eyes lit up. She was dressed in an exquisite red gown, looking radiant, though a flicker of guilt still lingered in her gaze whenever she met his eyes. Noah. Vincent greeted him, stepping forward with a glass of champagne, pretending that the violent incident in the hospital room had never happened. You made it. Come, let's toast to Naomi's new life. Noah ignored the glass. He stood in the center of the lavishly decorated ballroom, the cold glow of the crystal chandeliers reflecting in his lifeless eyes. A new life? Noah echoed softly, his voice carrying clearly across the silent room. Yes. A life built on murder. The ambient music died down. Guests began whispering to one another, exchanging confused glances. Noah, what are you talking about? Eleanor hissed under her breath, rushing to his side. Don't make a scene here. There are reporters outside. Reporters? Noah smiled, a bitter, jagged smile that sent a shiver down everyone's spine. Good. Because I brought documents for them. Noah reached into his coat and pulled out a thick stack of legal papers, throwing them onto the main dining table. What is this? Vincent demanded, his face darkening. That is a formal criminal indictment, Noah said smoothly, his voice ringing like steel. I have filed charges with the state prosecutor's office against Vincent Blake and Eleanor Blake for severe child abuse, illegal organ harvesting, and human trafficking. The room gasped in horror. Are you insane? Vincent screamed, turning crimson. She was our daughter. She was an 8-year-old child when you sold her organ on the black market to save a dying boy. Noah roared, pointing at his own chest. You forged her consent forms. You bribed the medical board. You raised her for 26 years. As a living organ farm, preparing her to be slaughtered the moment Naomi needed another piece of her. The guests began to murmur in shock. Several influential figures slowly backed away from Vincent and Eleanor. And you, Naomi, Noah turned his gaze to the trembling girl in the red dress. Naomi backed away, clutching her chest. Noah, please. I didn't know. You knew, Noah said coldly. You knew she only had one heart left. She told you in high school. You found her medical reports in her room years ago and burned them so I would never find out. You wanted her dead so you could take her place as my wife. No. That's a lie. Naomi shrieked, tears ruining her delicate makeup. Is it? Noah stepped closer, his shadow falling over her like a shroud. Do you know what happens to a transplanted organ when the recipient is consumed by stress, terror, and guilt? Naomi's breath caught in her throat. Suddenly, a violent, tearing pain struck the center of her chest. Thump thump. 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 Her heart, Sophia's heart, began to beat wildly out of rhythm. Ah! Naomi collapsed to her knees, gasping for air, clutching her chest in agony. It hurts. Dad. Mom. My chest hurts. Vincent and Eleanor rushed to her side in a panic. Naomi. What's wrong? Noah. Do something. You're a surgeon. Noah looked down at Naomi with terrifying detachment. I can't help her, Noah said quietly. Acute hyperacute rejection. Her immune system is recognizing the tissue. But it's not just tissue rejection, Naomi. It's Sophia. Her heart refuses to beat for her killer. Save me. Naomi sobbed, stretching a hand toward Noah, her face turning blue. Noah, save me. I love you. I don't love you, Noah spat out, every word dripping with utter revulsion. I never did. Every time I look at you, I feel sick. Every time I think of her. Heart inside your body, I want to tear you apart with my bare hands. The medical emergency team arrived 20 minutes later, dragging a dying Naomi out of the manor on a gurney. The scandal exploded across the nation overnight. With the evidence Noah provided, along with Dr. Vaughn's testimony and the archived records from 20 years ago, the police launched a massive investigation into Vincent and Eleanor Blake. Within 48 hours, the Blake family's assets were frozen. Vincent was arrested at his corporate headquarters for historical child abuse, organ trafficking, and fraud. Eleanor was taken into custody shortly after as an accomplice. Their social standing shattered into dust. The grand family that had sacrificed their younger daughter for the sake of their eldest was ruined completely, facing decades behind bars. Meanwhile, in the ICU of the city hospital, Naomi lay trapped in a glass room, hooked up to a dozen life support machines. Sophia's second heart was failing rapidly. No amount of immunosuppressants could stop the catastrophic rejection storm raging inside Naomi's body. The medical team was baffled. Biologically, the donor match had been perfect. Yet, the heart was dying. It was as if the organ itself possessed a conscious, stubborn will to stop beating. Noah walked into the ICU room, wearing a black suit, holding a small silver urn in his hands. The machines beeped frantically around Naomi's bed. She was conscious, her eyes sunken, her lips gray. She turned her head weakly toward Noah. Noah, she gasped through her oxygen mask. Please, find me another heart. Noah walked to her bedside and stood silently, looking down at her pitiful state. There are no more spare parts, Naomi, Noah said softly. Sophia was the only one. And she is dead. Naomi's eyes filled with tears of absolute despair. I don't want to die. Neither did she, Noah replied. She was 26. She loved pastries. She loved the ocean. She wanted a husband who loved her back. But you and your parents took everything from her. You ate her alive, piece by piece. Noah gently set the silver urn on the bedside table, right next to Naomi's heart monitor. I went to the crematorium, Noah whispered, staring at the urn. I picked up her ashes. I brought her here so she could watch her heart finally stop beating inside you. Naomi stared at the silver urn in horror. The heart monitor's alarm blared frantically. Beep. 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 Naomi's heart rate plummeted. The line on the monitor fluttered, straightened, and flattened into a single, continuous, piercing tone. The doctors and nurses rushed into the room with defibrillator paddles. Dr. Sullivan. Stand back. We need to shock her. Noah didn't move. He stood there, watching as the medical team repeatedly delivered electric shocks to Naomi's chest. Her body bounced lifelessly on the mattress, but the flat line never moved. Sophia's second heart had officially ceased to beat. Naomi Blake was declared dead at 11:42 p.m. Noah left the hospital room carrying the silver urn, stepping out into the cold midnight rain. He walked aimlessly through the quiet streets of the city, the rain soaking his suit, chilling him to the bone. He didn't care. He walked to the cliffside overlooking the ocean, the place where Sophia had always wanted to go for their anniversary, a trip he had repeatedly cancelled because Naomi had felt unwell. Noah sat down on the edge of the wet grass, hugging the silver urn tightly against his chest. Inside his body, his own chest began to ache with an excruciating, suffocating pressure. For weeks, Noah had intentionally refused to take his anti-rejection medications. He had stopped taking the immunosuppressants that kept his body from attacking Sophia's first heart, the heart she had given him when he was 10 years old. Chronic rejection had taken hold. His body was collapsing from the inside out. Fluid was filling his lungs, his pulse was becoming impossibly faint and slow. Thump. 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 Noah smiled, tears mixing with the rain on his pale, bloodless face. He unscrewed the lid of the silver urn. He reached his hand inside, feeling the soft, cold white ashes of the woman he had destroyed. Sophia, Noah whispered, his breath coming in ragged, painful gasps. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He lifted the urn and slowly tilted it over the edge of the cliff. The wind caught her ashes, scattering them into the black, roaring sea below, carrying her away from the family that had used her, away from the husband who had broken her, and into the vast, limitless freedom she had never known in life. Noah laid down on the wet grass, clutching his chest with both hands. He could feel it. Sophia's first heart, the very heart that had kept him alive for 16 years, was growing weaker and weaker. It was stopping. Not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. It had carried him as far as it could. Noah closed his eyes, a serene, peaceful smile resting on his lips as the coldness consumed his limbs. In the dark silence of his fading mind, he could almost hear her gentle, soft voice echoing in the wind. I gave you my first heart willingly, because I wanted you to live. I know, my love, Noah whispered into the night, his final breath escaping his lips. And now, I'm giving it back. Thump. Thump. The rain continued to fall softly onto the cliffside, washing away the footprints of the man who died holding the empty urn, as the silent ocean swallowed the remains of the girl with two hearts.